Pull-up three, puts it in! 107-105, straight on and straight through for Steph. Now the Warriors have to foul with 15 seconds to go, and they did in the backcourt.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up with John Dickinson. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players, highlights from the game, and JD will take your calls. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Indeed it does, as the Warriors lose in Denver, 108-105 the final. We welcome you inside Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. That is the phone number to give me a call or shoot me a text here on Warriors Wrap-Up tonight on 95.7 The Game. And really, a couple of different ways to look at tonight, I think. Now that the Warriors are through this stretch where they're playing 7 of the first 9 away from Chase Center and the next 6 to be played at Chase Center. You can look at it two ways. Missed opportunity tonight, fourth game of a long trip coming back from the central part of the country, the middle of the country, and playing the defending champs, and you're down a couple rotation players. They're down their second best player and Jamal Murray, and neither team really at their best, I thought, in this game tonight. Warriors looking a little sluggish. I thought Denver missed a lot of layups in this game. Warriors could have been in a worse spot than they were. I thought for good portions of the game, they were hanging around and had a chance. You hear Steph with the three there, the wild three off the steal makes it a 2-point game. And then Nikola Jokic misses both free throws as the Warriors foul there with about 15 seconds to go. And the Warriors unable, though, to finish the deal. Curry drives, goes for the layup. I saw Michael Malone was watching the ESPN feed in the break here between Kevin Dana's final call and when I hit the airwaves, and Michael Malone said the one thing that Denver was absolutely trying to do in that situation is not let Curry have a step-back three. So they were really going to make sure that they tried to force Curry into a position where he would take the two, and Curry did take the two. And Jokic maybe alters it a little bit, or it was a little bit rushed, but that's a shot as Curry starts to make his way into the lane that I'm thinking he's going to make, because Steph Curry typically does make that shot. But it rolls off the iron. There's the wild scramble for the ball out of bounds. No timeout for the Warriors, so they couldn't challenge it. Denver had made the Warriors take a timeout before the inbounds, had to take 2 timeouts at that point. After the missed free throws, the Warriors took timeout to advance it, then couldn't get the ball in. Another timeout. So no review on the wild out-of-bounds play. And then Reggie Jackson misses a couple. So you've got Denver missing 3 out of 4 free throws in the final couple of seconds, and then Clay appeared as if he was going to get a pretty decent look, but then never quite could get a handle on getting a legitimate attempt at a three with the Warriors down by 3, and you add it all up, and the Nuggets wind up improving to 8-1 on the season. They get the shorthanded victory. Somebody was going to get one tonight, whether it was the Warriors without Draymond Green and Gary Payton II, or the Nuggets playing without Jamal Murray, their second best player. So you can look at it as missed opportunity, and really I thought, Jokic, his numbers always end up looking phenomenal. 35 points, 13 rebounds, only 5 assists. I thought the Warriors did a good job taking away his ability to get others involved, and he had 35 points on 25 shots. 1 of 6 from 3. I thought the Warriors did make him work, although he winds up, 13 of 17 on twos. So he still kind of had his way as far as twos go. He did miss 4 free throws in the game. So, again, the Nuggets missed a lot of layups. I think they could have been in a better position in this game had they been able to make that. But the Warriors challenged. In the paint, I thought the Warriors really challenged the best they could to make life difficult for Jokic, the best that they could. The Warriors bench, again, did the job, 42-12. I think Denver, kind of a big picture topic on the Nuggets, I think they're going to have some trouble with the bench that they're rolling out right now. And I know Reggie Jackson going to the bench in the regular season at least, is probably going to wind up helping them when Jamal Murray can come back. But they're going to be without Jamal Murray for the rest of the month of November, it was reported today. They're not as deep as they were last year, just straight up. A lot of youth, and they're kind of a start. Their starting lineup or bust. Maybe Reggie Jackson, really the only veteran among key players off the bench for them. So I think they're a little bit vulnerable as these teams continue their season series, as Denver continues to defend their title. But they're off to the 8-1 start. Warriors off to the 6-3 start. If you want to talk about tonight, what didn't go well for Golden State, as they only hit 11 out of 35 from three. Warriors didn't shoot it well in this one tonight. Steph Curry 0 for 4 on twos, did make 6 threes again, but the Nuggets were able to hold Curry down. It was another rough night for Andrew Wiggins. It was another rough night, at least in the first half, for Jonathan Kuminga, who ends up getting his 10 and ends up helping the Warriors a little bit in the second half, as the bench really in both halves was the story for the Warriors as far as getting them back into the game, and then not quite enough from the starters down the stretch. And so we could talk about this game specifically, but I really think that this Warriors trip was made in Detroit when the Warriors were able to bounce back off the Cleveland loss and make sure that they got at least 2. I think you look at 9 games and 7 of them on the road, and the Warriors being a 11-win road team a year ago, a team that went 11-30 away from Chase Center, for the Warriors to be sitting at 5-2, 7 road games in, and 6-3 overall now with the next 6 at home, and then a couple of more. They're not going to leave the California or the West Coast here for quite some time. And the Warriors have the next 6 at home, and then they go to Phoenix, and then they're back home. And then they go to Sacramento, and then they're back home again before they go to L.A. And then they hit the in-season tournament portion of the schedule, which is to be determined that first week of December. But you look at the Warriors now, they got through what was a real difficult stretch at the beginning of their season that the schedule maker kind of made for them, an early test, and now everything flips. And so I think if you separate from tonight and look at the big picture, Warriors at 6-3, I think you have to take. And now you have to hope, if you're a Warrior fan, that Golden State gets it going and can play at the level that they played at last season at home. Be a 30-plus home team. Because this team looks like they can win 20, 22, 23 games away from home. You do that and you win your 30 at home, then you're into the 50s. And if you're in the 50s, I think you're going to be in that mix for a top 2, top 3 spot in the Western Conference, top to bottom. So, again, I tend to take the macro view tonight as opposed to the micro view. And it's the fact that I think if, it's the old, 9 games, what do you think's a good record for the Warriors? At this point, I think 6-3, 5-4, I think probably would have been acceptable. I think 6-3, you're feeling really good about. I think 7-2, 8-1, 9-0, you'd have been ecstatic about at that point. So all in all, again, they got to get Andrew Wiggins going, but Klay Thompson, I think, has been steady. Steph's been out of this world. Chris Paul's coming along. Tonight, Chris Paul in the closing lineup tonight. Down the stretch, took Curry off the ball a little bit. Maybe you needed to get the ball in Steph's hands a little bit more in the final few minutes to try and generate some better shots. I think that's fair to look at. But the young players are contributing to varying degrees. The bench, for the most part, is beating the opposition's bench, even though individually among the bench players, not everybody's playing great. Saric has had some games, but he's also had some games where he's been less effective. He got the start tonight. Chris Paul hasn't shot it well, but he's done everything else pretty well. Kuminga has been pretty bad in first halves of most of these games and has not made the jaw-dropping third-year leap that some had predicted for him, at least not yet. But he's been effective enough. He's been playable. He's been somebody that's helped them over significant portions of a lot of these games, even though he hasn't been perfect. So I tend to look at it glass half full as we sit here with the Warriors at 6-3. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Let's get it going tonight on the phone lines with Chris A. in Oakland here on 95.7 The Game. What's going on tonight, Chris?
Hey, what's going on, JD? Thanks for taking my call, man. That was a great game. Wish we would have got the W. They had opportunities win. What I thought really stood out was even without GP, even without Dre, they played really good team defense. So you got to be proud of that. Another thing, too, is that I thought the bench in totality, especially with that second unit with Chris Paul running it, is just a luxury that we're going to have over opposing benches going forward. And that's really, really a great thing as a fan to see compared to last season. So, yeah, it was you always want to win, but I'm okay with it. So, yeah, go Dubs. Thanks for and one more thing, JD. Are you also doing the weekend shows this season too with the Warriors?
Yes, we're doing Warriors this week, 9 to noon on Saturdays, all season long. We got that tipped off a couple of weekends ago. We've done 2 of them. The third one will be this weekend. Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, Chris. Chris A. checking in here on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. Yeah, hard-fought game. Neither team played great. Both teams competing. I think the one thing that the Warriors showed tonight, even without Draymond and Gary Payton II, and again, Denver can play that game too. I mean, Denver didn't have their second-best player and a guy that was a legitimate big-time playoff performer for them in Jamal Murray. But I think both these teams showed that neither fears the other as the reigning last 2 champions in the NBA. And I think the Nuggets have a little bit of that championship juice that comes with knowing that they know what it takes to get the job done. So I don't think they're going to quite panic or anything like that going up even against a team like the Warriors. And then you look at the Warriors, who I think showed that they can run with this team. They can hang with this team even when they're not playing their best. And so I thought both teams kind of made a little mini statement as far as just kind of where things stand moving forward. Defensive battle, to be sure. I think that's a great point by Chris A. in Oakland. Warriors played good defense tonight for the most part, and they didn't have their 2 best defensive players, or at least 2 of their top 3 if you want to consider Andrew Wiggins typically as one of the Warriors' better defenders. But I think to this point, GP's been somebody that's been out there a lot down the stretch. Draymond, obviously, an all-time great defensive player. And the Warriors were taking other things away from Denver. Michael Porter Jr. still got rolling at different points and hurt the Warriors. I thought really where he hurt him was on the glass a little bit. But ends up with 17 points. I mean, he's just one of those guys that sometimes is going to hit shots that it just kind of like Steph and Clay a little bit, and that why the hell are you taking that shot? Oh, it's good. Like he just has that unabashed confidence in his game, so he's going to hit some tough ones, but he's also maybe going to take some bad ones. And but I thought Michael Porter Jr. made a positive impact. I thought the Warriors did a nice job on Aaron Gordon. He missed a lot inside tonight, 5 of 14. Reggie Jackson was kind of the quintessential Reggie Jackson. A lot of shots to get his points. So I thought the Warriors did a nice job. And then, the bench. I mean, plus 30 for the Warriors bench that had already been dominant to a big-time extent so far. The bench now for the Warriors can get them back in the game. And that's it's not just, hey, Steph's out, and can you prevent yourself from being, losing that stretch by 10 points? It's now on nights where maybe the starters don't have it, and Curry got off to a little bit of a slow start in this one. Now the bench can bring you back into the game, which gives the starters more opportunities to steal games down the stretch. And I thought tonight was a game where the Warriors really had an opportunity, not really to steal it. I think both teams legitimately had chances to win. Warriors' biggest lead was 5. Denver was up 12 at a couple of different points. It was 26-21 into the first quarter. Warriors down by 3 at the half. And then the big third quarter. Third quarters have been an early trend for the most part in these first 9 games for the Warriors. The third quarter, Warriors outscore them 31-23. So they get things back on track via the bench, and then take off in that third quarter. The bench really did a nice job in the third quarter. The third quarters for the bench have been better than even the first quarters, the back ends of first quarters and second quarters for the Warriors to this point. So the bench helping them get back in the game and give them a chance, but just not enough for the Warriors tonight as they lose it 108-105. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570. Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Looking at the standings a little bit before we get to our extending the three-point line and get to a couple of text messages as well. Yeah, Denver improves to 8-1. They're an NBA best 8-1. Philly 6-1 in the Eastern Conference. They lead the East. Dallas got beat at home tonight by Toronto, so they are now 6-2. Minnesota's won 4 in a row. They've played a lot of home games, though. 5 of their first 7 have been at home. And they're 5-0 at home at Target Center so far this season. And they've beaten the Celtics and they've beaten Denver. It was the one Denver loss in there as well. When you look at this one, yeah, they were able to beat the Nuggets in blowout fashion in Minneapolis. And the Warriors are right there at 6-3. Currently 4th in the West. Oklahoma City's right there. Sacramento got a win tonight in overtime against Portland, so they're coming on. The Kings had lost 3 in a row, going back to when the Warriors beat them at Chase Center last week. A week ago tonight, the Kings went and lost a couple in Houston, and then were down late tonight. But without De'Aaron Fox, able to get a win there, so they salvage a 3-4, and I just think you got to like where the Dubs are at right now at 6-3 with all of these home games. Now you got to pay it. You got to take advantage of the fact and make the 6-3 stand up by winning 5 out of 6 at home and taking your chances in Phoenix, taking your chances in Sacramento, taking your chances on the road against the Clippers. Phoenix tonight won in Chicago in overtime as well. They led most of that game, but then found themselves trailing in the overtime. Came back and were able to win that game as well down the stretch. And so they're 4-4. So right there in the mix are the Warriors, I think, in the early part of the season. A couple of 50-50 games go their way. They're able to win the game against Sacramento a week ago. They win the game in Oklahoma City on Friday night and had chances against Cleveland. Definitely had chances to get the job done tonight, but come up a little bit short. All in all, though, again, 5-2 away, 1-1 home. I think you absolutely take that if you're the Warriors. All right, 888-957-9570. Roberto is next here on Warriors Wrap Up. What's going on, Roberto?
Hey, good evening to you. I just was calling to just say I appreciate your doing everything you do there, and I wanted to get your opinion just real quick about what would you consider to throw in a wrench for the NBA to have Chris Paul start in the second half. Chris Paul be the starting point guard and having like a shotgun on the left with Curry and the other Splash Brother on the right.
I think you'll see that lineup at different times. I don't think it's going to be starting necessarily the second half. I think you'll see it at the end of the game. And I think you did see it at the end of the game tonight. I mean, you saw Chris Paul out there at the end tonight with Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson, with Andrew Wiggins. They had Looney out there, and they went back to Saric. The who will be the 5th closing player tonight for the Warriors. It wound up looking like it was going to be Saric, and then it ended up being Chris Paul. So it ended up being Paul with Looney, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Andrew Wiggins. Thought maybe it wasn't going to be CP3 tonight, but then Steve Kerr went to him. And then Moses Moody was out there when the Warriors were trying to get the final bucket when Steph ended up driving Moody out there to spread the floor a little bit. But I think you're going to see that lineup, and it's going to be interesting how Steve Kerr, tonight he went with Wiggins. And I think trying to maybe instill some confidence in Andrew Wiggins, who, again, did not have his best game. 11 points, 5 boards, picks up 3 fouls, has a turnover, can't make a 3 tonight, missed another free throw tonight, although he was 3 for 4. Wiggins is struggling, and I think there's a fine line between trying to balance confidence in Andrew Wiggins and playing the right player to help you win the game. And I do think Steve Kerr, for the most part, has done that. I don't think there was a clear-cut better option than Wiggins tonight. And I think you like having his veteran presence out there in the mix with the Michael Porters and the Aaron Gordons and the Kentavious Caldwell-Popes as opposed to maybe a younger player. But again, there also isn't that player off the bench that's really truly pushing the envelope. The guy that has the most has been Gary Payton II, and we've seen Gary Payton II out there at the end of some of these games for defense. But it's going to be interesting because I would not have thought at the beginning of the year that part of the conversation would have been who's the fifth that's going to close the game, but have that conversation not stem from talking about Chris Paul. And I thought it was going to be, is it going to be Chris Paul or Looney? Because Steph and Clay and Dre and Wiggins are going to be out there, but at the same time, it hasn't been that at all. In fact, it's been, Chris Paul's been in for Wiggins in some of these games. We've seen Kuminga finish some of them as well. But again, tough on the missed call on the goaltend, by the way. I did want to point that out. A blatant missed call on the Gordon block of Curry, took the ball right off the board, and then it winds up being a 3-point play on the other end. And they call a goaltend on the other end, basically the same play. The Warriors were pretty frustrated about that, and that winds up being significant. Bottom line, it was a goaltend down on the end where the Nuggets got the call. The Warriors didn't get that call. Winds up being a 3-point game at 108-105, and that was a couple of points taken right off the board there. You wonder, maybe how things shake out a little bit differently down the stretch. It's rare. I'm not one to get on the officials typically on this show. It was a debate, obviously, in Oklahoma City. The Warriors got the benefit of what proved to be a correct call with the wiping out of the offensive basket interference and all of that. Tonight, it didn't go their way, and it probably should have, at least in that instance, with the blatant miss there on the goaltend, which really came at a critical moment. At that point, it was a 2-point game, and then the Nuggets go down and wind up ahead by 5 at that point in a game that they eventually win by 3. 888-957-9570, 888-957-9570, 650 on the Comcast Business Text line. JD, did you notice Clay's body language down the stretch with Wiggins and Paul taking the shots he used to? I didn't see bad body language with Clay. I think, look, tonight, I've given Klay Thompson credit for not being as thirsty, as far as, he's taken, there's been a lot of 12 and 13 shot Klay games that I think last year would have been 18 shot Klay games. And I think the Warriors are going to have to find a balance of, if it's a good shot for Wiggins, if it's a good shot for Chris Paul, those guys are going to have to take it, and Klay's going to have to trust that he's going to get a better look. I think Klay just always has the when things aren't going well for the team, he's got the frustrated, bad body language face. I don't know that it's ever really necessarily directed at anyone specifically. He just kind of seems like he's one of those guys that wants to win so bad that he's always annoyed in the moment. And more so, I think, as he's gotten a little bit older and maybe his game is a little less consistent than he wants it to be at this point. But so, no, I didn't think there was anything abnormal about Klay Thompson's body language. But I do think, in a quiet moment, he may be a little surprised, let's say, that not surprised, but just the fact that he's not taking more shots. And I think he probably, in a quiet moment is thinking, he wants to help more. And help more is having the ability to shoot through cold nights. And look, he wasn't terrible tonight. He was 2 for 8 from 3, 5 of 12 overall. But we've talked a lot about the fact that Klay Thompson limiting poorer nights shooting to 5 of 12 is significant when the alternative is 6 of 18 or 7 of 19. And so, I think that's the balance that Klay is going to have to find. All right, 888-957-9570. Let's keep it going here with our extending the three-point line, which is brought to you by West Coast Men's Health.
Stephen Curry across out. He'll fire a deep three. 30 feet out, and he puts it in as he falls to the floor. 87-86.
Yeah, Kevin Dana on the call tonight. And, Stephen Curry there, 87-86. 1 of 6 Stephen Curry threes on the night. 6 for 13 from Steph from distance. And just updated totals for Steph Curry. 53 of 112 through the first now 9 games of the season. Steph at 47% from 3. Shooting 47% from 3 to begin the season, averaging a cool 30 a night for Steph Curry. So, yeah, good stuff for him to this point tonight. And that you're extending the three-point line. Brought to you by West Coast Men's Health. Successfully treating men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenshealth.com for more details. You're extending the three-point line for tonight. All right, some other notes on this one as the Warriors lose to Denver 108-105. Denver improves to 8-1. Warriors 4-game road trip. They go 2-2, 5-2 again on the road, 4-1 against the Western Conference this season. And the Nuggets have won 4 in a row against the Warriors head up. Denver did win all 3 matchups last year, as those teams only met 3 times a year ago, only once in San Francisco. And the Nuggets have won the last 4. Warriors haven't beaten Denver since the playoffs in 2022, since the Warriors eliminated the Nuggets in that 5-game series. Got to go all the way back to the regular season in March the 10th of 2022 when the Warriors last beat the Nuggets. Again, we talked about the bench. Warriors bench outscores Denver's 42-12. And I'll just say it again. I think Denver rolling with that bench this season could potentially be problematic, but they're betting that they can get their younger role players a full season of experience to where they'll be capable of whatever is needed of them once the playoffs begin. But I think they could have some growing pains. I know they're 8-1. They're playing great. They don't even have Jamal Murray, and they're still winning at this high level. But I think Denver is going to be I think there's going to be some times where they're going to struggle with the bench that they're putting out there because it is so young and inexperienced. The Warriors, again, not a high turnover team. Kind of crazy to think. 9 turnovers for the Warriors in this game. It's been a year and a half since the Warriors last had 9 or fewer turnovers. You go all the way back to March of 22 against the Celtics. The Warriors had 8 turnovers in that game, single digits for the Warriors in terms of turnovers. And again, the last time the Warriors did it on the road was that game I just mentioned in March of 2022 when the Warriors won in Denver. So, a season low with the 9 turnovers for the Warriors, and Golden State using another different starting lineup tonight with Draymond Green out. Personal reasons, 3rd game and 9 that Draymond has missed. Warriors fall to 1-2 now without Draymond Green. Gary Payton II misses this one due to illness, and Dario Saric, he got the start for Draymond Green in this one tonight. All right, before we call it a night, let's get to our hardest worker of the game. Brought to you by Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. All right, hardest worker of the game tonight for Golden State. Kind of a tough one Really tough to find somebody in this one. Just kind of looking up and down. I'm gonna, man, it's rare as I kind of scan that there isn't somebody that pops to mind. I'm gonna give it to Trace Jackson Davis tonight. 18 minutes. I think this is the second time in 9 games he's been the hardest working player of the game to this point. But he got to go up against Jokic a little bit. A couple of times Jokic took it to him. He hit his free throws tonight, 4 of 5. Used his fouls. Did score 8 points, couple of boards. I thought Trace Jackson Davis made his presence felt tonight in the game for the Warriors. In his 18 minutes, and you knew he was going to get an opportunity with Draymond out and Saric going into the starting lineup. Steve Kerr basically, Saric had been the backup center. He started him at the 4 tonight, went a little bigger with Kevon Looney needing to help against Jokic, and then that basically opened up the backup center spot for Trace Jackson Davis in this one. Brandon Podziemski got a couple of shifts, one in each half. 5 points for him. And again, the bench played well. The bench, top to bottom, everybody from Chris Paul all the way on down, the 5 off the bench for the Warriors in this game, Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, Podziemski, and Moses Moody, all pluses in this one. And you look at the starters, the advantage for the Nuggets in this game was the starters. All 5 of their starters in the plus, all 5 of the Warriors starters in the minus, and when you start to break out statistically, that wound up being the difference in the game. So your hardest worker is going to be Trace Jackson Davis. Again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. All right, final couple of minutes here. 888-957-9570. 510 in the Comcast Business text line saying, JD, the Warriors have shown they have the best bench in the league. One of them. And I at times I wonder how they're doing it. I really do. Because I think some of the combinations they have out there are going to potentially struggle. But you're also seeing where Steve Kerr has options. Tonight, in the second quarter, because Gary Payton II was not available, he used Klay Thompson at the beginning of the second quarter. And I think, that's going to be a move come playoff time that Steve Kerr's able to go to. Hey, sub Wiggins or Klay Thompson in to one of these younger bench player spots in a playoff series if maybe that player isn't playing well, when your starters are going to have at least a day, maybe 2 in between games, to where you can, that's where you can bump them up that extra 2, 3, 4 minutes here and there and really maximize what you have. But to this point in the regular season, it's clicking every night, and they're cohesive, and they don't make a lot of mistakes, and they're bringing energy. I think everybody from Moody and Kuminga, who have obviously been here, to Trace Jackson Davis and Podziemski, Chris Paul's commanding it. Saric is bringing his ability to shoot the ball and rebound and just make the right play, make the right pass. And so it really is a strong complementary set of players for the Warriors on the court. And then it's also, I think, a nice balance and mixture of younger players and older players as well, which is helping Golden State with the balance. And a lot of a lot of teams aren't deep, and I think that's the one thing. You can tweak a bad bench into a good bench pretty quickly, and for the Warriors to be able to do it in just a couple of moves, which have essentially balanced everything. Chris Paul comes in, Dario Saric comes in, and all of a sudden Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga feel a lot more stable, even if they aren't playing consistently well every single shift. There's just more of a cohesion to the whole process that's been in play. So we'll call it a night on that note as the Nuggets get the better of the Warriors, 108-105. Warriors with a couple of days off. They'll head back to the Bay. No practice tomorrow. Warriors will probably have a practice on Friday. And then the home games come fast and furious for the Dubs. Saturday against Cleveland, Sunday against Minnesota. So a Saturday-Sunday home back-to-back. Cleveland and Minnesota. Then the Timberwolves are going to stay over for another game on Tuesday. Then it's 2 against the Thunder next Thursday and Saturday. And then the Warriors are going to take on the Rockets as we get into the Thanksgiving week on Monday the 20th before going to Phoenix and then back to take on the Spurs, heading to Sacramento, back home to take on the Clippers, and then at the Clippers that second afternoon in December before we add up all the points and tiebreakers and group play and all that and figure out who's going to be playing what on that NBA in-season tournament week that's going to be going from December the 4th through December the 9th. But, Warriors got through a really tough stretch, and now we'll see how things can shake out for the Warriors moving forward here in what figures to be. Looking at that's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The next 11, that'll put the Warriors right at the 20-game mark going into the in-season tournament round, basically. That first week of December, the Warriors would be exactly 20 games in. So through the first 9 with a bunch of road games, let's see how they can do in the next 11 as far as the home games go, with 8 of the next 11 here at Chase Center as the Warriors try to even out that schedule. All right, that'll do it. Thanks to Sterling Bennett. Thanks to everybody in our San Francisco studios. I'm John Dickinson. I will be back with you on Saturday morning. We'll back to doing the double-day Saturdays here on 95.7 The Game. Saturday morning, Warriors this week, as we'll be along at 9 a.m. for that. So that's going to be 9 to noon. And then back with Warriors Live on Saturday when the Dubs are next up against the Cavaliers on Saturday. That's a 5:30 tip here on 95.7 The Game. All right, that'll do it. Nuggets get the better of the Warriors. 108-105 is the final. We'll talk to you Saturday right here on your home for Warriors basketball. It's 95.7 The Game.
Get big savings and big rewards now during Provember at Lowe's. Right now, save $80 on a DeWalt 20-volt 2-tool combo kit and earn 3 times the bonus points. Redeem those points for offers like NFL tickets to regular season games, a Super Bowl 58 experience for 2, and more rewards. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. While supplies last, selection varies by location. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 11/22, subject to change.
Some intimate parts need the gentle